Hey guys, it's Mathel here once again with the next build of the Frisia event, and that is the first time I'm actually trying Blight of Contagion, and it's on a Bog Shaman that's a life stacker. And I have got good things to say about this one. I'm actually very pleased and very happy with how this thing plays out, and it's been an absolute blast of a character. I'd actually compare it quite similar to my Viper Strike of the Mamba character, where I just had so much fun blasting maps that I could kind of, want to just log in and blast maps all day long. So what this character is, or what Blight of Contagion is essentially Essence Drain, but Blight takes over instead of Essence Drain, and then you still spread that Blight damage over time through your Contagion. The main difference is that it has 5 stacks versus Essence Drain's like just one little thing. And that you don't really have to care about projectiles, because typically with Essence Drain you need like additional projectiles, or you need Pierce, stuff like that for quality of life, and then you have to kind of aim it. With this one, it is just a nice, comfortable right click pretty much anywhere, because it's just a conal AoE and we have plenty of AoE, so it's not hard to get your initial chain going. So all you got to do is just throw out a contagion somewhere, get some blights going, and then let the rest just chain away. So with this one, I've been doing absolute juicing for lots of extra monsters. This is kind of like a blight tower, so blight on blight strategy, which involves getting idols for more mobs and spawn rate, and then it just shits out an absolute fuck ton of monsters, and you chain and kill them all, and then also use a scarab to get a whole bunch more monsters, and then just one dumb big chest at the end of it. It's not necessarily a great strategy or anything, it's just a lot of fun to do, because we can mass kill monsters at the ready. So I've also been juicing maps with packs and like influence and stuff and beyond, and we're pretty much guaranteed like spawning a beyond boss almost every single map, and the chains are just super satisfying when you're doing this kind of large scale proliferation, I suppose. So like I said, it feels very similar to Viper Strike or Mamba, just nowhere near the same DPS amount, because Chaos damage over time skills right now are pretty down bad. They're not like in a very good state for their damage at all. It's just that you can get them to certain levels where they can still be pretty fun. In this case, Blight of Contagion, I think currently for me has like a few million DPS, so you can do tier 16s and just like Guardian bosses most likely. I haven't actually done any sort of real end game yet. I've just been blasting maps. But you should be able to do that fairly reliably, just, not fast at all. I don't know how actual bossing is going to go, but we'll probably get there as well. I'm currently just trying to min-max the character, because there's a lot of min-max that you can do to up your damage over time and get yourself to higher levels of life stack, because basically, the way that the character works is that we stack a lot of life and then use Wrathpith Shield to get a lot of spell damage for that life value. So that's basically the point of stacking lots of life, whereas normally you stack lots of life for the crit portion of that shield as well. But since spell damage applies to damage over time from things like Blight, you can just stack spell damage and get a lot out of that too. It does create a bit of an awkward playstyle with Dissolution of Flesh duel, where you're getting like reserved life whenever you're getting hit, but you just got to make sure you're not getting hit some times, and then you can recover and get your life and reserve back. So that's partially why I've also spec'd into block this time around, because I've done Dissolution one time before and it felt pretty uncomfortable for various, content and combat. This time around I got a bit more block and a bit more like regen, restart, regen rate and stuff for our energy shield that turns into our life. Yeah, Bog Shaman has a lot going for it on this type of build and playstyle. So unfortunately, I'm not sure you can really build something like this in the real game, because it probably just won't really have the scaling. We get a lot of life from energy shield items thanks to the Bog Shaman Ascendancy. We get 50 area and 50 duration. We get 40 damage over time. and then you can even reserve more with your blasphemies. Though I'm not sure our blasphemies are really that mandatory, but it does feel a little bit better having temp chains with slowing everything around us, when the idea is to sometimes just not get hit so that your dissolution of flesh doesn't ruin your life. So yeah, that's basically the rundown of the character and Blight. It's a pretty fucking fun thing to do. It also provided me with the, I think, fastest campaign run I've done pretty much thus far. I don't speedrun my campaigns. I still get up, take coffee breaks, and, you know, buy items as I need to, all that kind of stuff. And we still squeezed in under 6 hours because you just like dive around and destroy screens with Blight very early on. Pretty much from the first Ascendancy, you'll have good enough area to just be, decimating screens. So it felt very fun and very good to level right from the start, though it will be a bit of a entry barrier for gear to get it going well, because you do need some good energy shield stuff that gives you plenty of life that then gets turned into spell damage, and then woke gems go a long way to giving you a lot more damage as well. So there's a bit of an entry barrier, but it's nothing too crazy. It just means that you need some kind of established framework to get a character going. So with that, let me go ahead and show you how I've built this character so far. So here we are on the character, level 94 Boggenheimer, about to hit 95 already, and it's actually been pretty damn fast, I think, for my own standards to get to these sorts of levels. Like I said, it's just been a lot of fun to blast pretty hard, and yeah, it's like Oppenheimer, but Bog Shaman, largely because I was going to like Vile Blight, and we got some pretty effects happening. So the name of the game is Blight of Contagion. The difference from regular Blight is it has less stacks, but it also then can spread through Contagion. So compared to normal Blight, it has a bit less damage, but it has more base damage. It just doesn't ramp as high, and then, So you don't really need Vile Blight in the end. I've kind of like, after playing, discovered it doesn't do too much. It doesn't spread through the dot because Vile skills don't interact with the actual transfigured gems. So you don't really need Vile Blight, so just getting a Blight of Contagion by itself, and then maybe turning into a 21 is probably going to be ideal. So I'm waiting to Vile this one here. But that's basically what we've got. So we've got a Blight of Contagion and then just an actual Contagion over here, which is what facilitates the spread of the Blight. So the Ascendancy in question is Bog Shaman, Bog Witch, Bog Shaman, whatever it is. And my first 2 points were to get this over here, which is what gives you quite a nice feeling of chain throughout just even the campaign. And then I think I went into Reservation over here, and then I grabbed Sanguine Power to remove all energy shield and then gain life as maximum, instead of maximum energy shield from your equipped armor items. So around level 84 is when we started crafting all our gear, because you're going to need the biggest energy shield shit out there, and that's level 84 bases. And then once you get like Eternal Youth, your sort of energy shield regen becomes your life regen, and that's when you can start running Dissolution of Flesh and using the other thing, which is this guy over here, Pandemic. 5% life per second. If you've been here recently, it doesn't really matter because we just recover everything really quickly, and Dissolution of Flesh as well. So we are using Wrath Pith, which is 5% spell per 100 max life. So we've got something like, I don't know, 900 spell damage. But you also sacrifice 10% of your life whenever you use or trigger a spell. So you can notice that we actually do lose quite a bit, but it regens almost immediately because it's our energy shield recharge, which turns into our life recharge. So as you can see, it's that over here. So you get your energy, your life back pretty damn quick when you're not actually getting hit. It's just, there's some annoyances with this type of stuff because damage over time is very bad for you, and consistent little damage is really bad for you. So you may have 18,000 life, but it isn't as thick and crazy as you might think it is. Some people, when they're playing this type of character, are getting to like 30, 35,000 life. So you can go check what those people are doing as well if you'd rather build a bit more onto the life side of things. I'd say my character's at about 50% of its potential. So you can go much harder if you really so choose. But what we've got is Blight of Contagion, Efficacy, Void Manipulation. Once this gets to level 5, that's a big power spike because it gives us a +1. Control Destruction. Swift Affliction, we need an Awakened one there as well, and an Infused Channeling over here. The rest of the gear is basically just trying to stack life and then energy shield, so life and res and energy shield. I crafted all of these, I think, pretty much from scratch, using either dense fossils, essences of woe, essences of greed, and also essences of zeal for the boots, and sometimes harvest stuff as well. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can use to craft all this type of stuff, but you're just basically looking for most of the time big energy shield items or energy shield, and then a life roll as well. Most of mine ended up just rolling pure energy shield with a teeny bit of life or something like that. But it is what it is. You take what you can get. My gear cost me something like 10 divines to put together, and maybe it'll take more, maybe it'll take less for you. But you could also have much bigger results than what I've currently got, because my gear is by no means like insane. It's just pretty decent. And then life over there, bunch of that. I'm using currently a replica Dragon Fang, which is decent with plus Blight on it, but it's comparable or even worse than just a really good amulet. So a good amulet's going to have like life. I mean, if you can get it, plus spells or plus chaos spells, but otherwise just damage over time multiplier. And then the best one is going to be mirrored, and the best one even more is going to be like a simplex that's also mirrored. So there's quite a high ceiling on this type of shit. Likewise with the wand, there's a high ceiling there, but just grabbing a damage over time fracture for 100C, and then rolling with essences of misery until we hit a +1 chaos. That's pretty easy to do, and gives us a lot of stuff there. So you don't really want lots of like percent damage, because we get so much from here. So our passive tree and our gear doesn't really focus on too much percent damage. We need plus levels, we need multipliers like chaos damage over time and damage over time multipliers, and then the rest of our tree is basically just getting life and some aura shit and whatnot. Still got a dual socket to fit here, which is probably a Malevolence Watcher's Eye. Otherwise, I crafted my own little, chaos damage and damage over time multiplier jewels. Yeah, they're nothing crazy. I mean, this one's pretty damn good. Managed to slam life onto that one just randomly, luckily. And then we have the Dissolution over here. You can have a look at the highest life people on PoE Ninja. They're going to be going all the way down to blood magic and doing even more life stacking shit. I kind of just did my own attempt here and kept it as normal as I could, I think, without being too complicated. And this is what it looks like. And we're almost at 20k life, so it's not too bad. But yeah, the best people out there are getting 35,000. So if you want to see how they did that, you certainly can as well. And maybe it's a better template for this type of a character. But for me, for now, this is pretty much how I've decided to build, and it's been good enough. And it's just been a lot of fun blasting, maps and stuff. We currently have 190,000 kills, almost level 95, and just been destroying large-scale amounts of maps. I'm also using Tempest Shield, Malevolence, Shield Charge, faster attacks over there. So my block currently isn't crazy, but it is a little bit invested into, and then it does mean that I can take a few more regular hits than I otherwise would be able to. With our roomies up, we got that much block, so I think it helps. But you don't have to do block. I still have to finish off like implicits on these, like for my Eldritch implicits. Haven't got around to doing that. And we also have a Wither Totem set up down there, and a Blasphemy, Despair into Temp Chains. Temp Chains, like, yeah, it's weird. It doesn't always really feel like it's very good, because Blasphemy does give you 25% less effect, and I did spec into some cursed stuff to begin with, like over here. Yeah, it still just doesn't feel crazy, but I think it's helping, so I don't want to get rid of it. Yeah. Otherwise, you don't have to run these. You could just self-curse stuff yourself. You could run a Witchfire Brew. You could have a Bane setup if you want. You could have an extra Essence Drain setup on top of this for extra damage. And I still may fuck around with that and see if that's going to be worth doing, because I can probably justify getting an extra link here or there. But that's the character. Nothing too complex when it comes down to it. It's just stacking life and energy shield, and then a tree that doesn't really focus on anything other than that, and then Bog Shaman blighting. So there's a bit more of a high ceiling on this one. I don't know how far I'll take it, but I'm still probably going to map on it for like a day or two, because it's a good gold farming character. It's a good amount of fun to play through maps. And yeah, I can highly recommend it for now. I'm not sure how possible it is later, like, you know, without this Ascendancy, but yeah, just have to wait and see what the future holds. So far so good. Blight of Contagion, can recommend. Hope you guys are having a good event. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.